Hi there, welcome back. How are you today? So what was coming through towards the end of the last video is that perhaps it's not meant for you yet. Now, for me, what was coming up as I was saying that, and I could have gone on for another 20 minutes with that, I was remembering when I first started reading the Conversation with God books by Neale Donald Walsch. And I remember catching this beautiful retreat that he had done. And in there, this one line that stuck in my head from that day, I'm talking over 30 years ago now, that or at least 30 years ago, because I was about 25 at the time. And he was saying at the time, there's only one of us in the room. He was saying to the people there, if you think that you are separate from the other beings in this room, stop doing that. There is only one of us in the room. And I remember at the time it went over my head. That didn't make sense to me. But for some reason, I always held on to it. It was always there in the back of my mind. And occasionally I would sit with it again. What does that mean? There's only one of us in the room. What does that mean? And I would sit with it. And I'd be like, no, I got nothing. And so I'd leave it because it didn't make sense to me at the time. It didn't mean anything for where I was at the time. So I would leave it. And like that, there's been a few things. The moment my husband said to me, you're still looking at your mum like you're 5 years old, that took months before that hit. Oh, I get what he meant now, and that was the catalyst. That's what created the very first book, that comment by my husband. You're still looking at your mum like you're 5 years old. That within myself, it created this anger. What do you mean I'm still, are you saying I'm immature? Are you saying I haven't grown up? Are you, there was all these questions going on in the beginning. All this anger was coming up to be, looked at, to be healed. That's what the anger was for. That's why it was coming up. How dare he say that? What does that even mean? I honestly spent the next few months, rattled. I was quite angry by what he said. Is he saying I'm immature was what was coming up for me. I'm still a child, looking at the world like a child. I haven't grown up. And that's what I took from it originally, because I guess that anger needed to come up, because with that, there was a lot of anger that was stored, that had been suppressed, and it was trying to come up to the surface. It was trying so hard to come up, And within that time that he said that, my mother-in-law and I signed up to do a self-esteem course, because I remember thinking to myself at the time, it was a self-esteem course for children. And I remember thinking, well, I want to do this course for my daughter. I want to give her all the tools, that she'll be confident, that she'll have self-esteem, that she'll always know. You know what I mean? Anyway, that was the intention, to give her all the best tools for her life, to have this beautiful self-esteem, this beautiful confidence. And then what came out was, as I was going through the self-esteem course, so much was coming up for me of my childhood, rather than addressing her childhood. It was pointing it all to me, to my childhood. And somewhere in there, that comment, you're looking at your mum like you're 5 years old, hit home. I was like, bing, this light bulb went off in my head. Oh, that's what he meant by that. Okay, because my husband, he really thinks outside the box. And often he'll come up with something and at the time, I won't see it clearly. I can't understand exactly what it is that he's trying to bring through. But usually he has a wisdom that, for me, it's beyond my years. Like when he comes in with something, it takes me a while to get around what it is that he just said. So this took months, probably about a year, I would imagine, of me sitting with that festering in my head. I'm looking at my mum like I'm 5. What do you think, who are you? How dare you, So all of that was coming up inside of me because I'm, this anger. And then I understood, oh, okay, I'm still looking at my mum like I'm 5 years old. I haven't gone past that. What happened in that event, I hadn't healed it. I hadn't resolved it. It was still festering inside of me. you know, and going through that beautiful self-esteem course. That was it. That was the beginning of Your Past is a Gift. Because when that light bulb went off in my head, I thought, right. I pulled out a notebook, and from that moment I started writing down every event that I could remember. And for some reason I had this amazing memory of all the things I've been through. And I believe it was meant to be that way, to write that book, to share, you know, it was meant to be. Some people don't remember most of the things they went through, but mine were very clear. The memories were very clear. So I started writing. I'd write the event, and I'd write what happened, what I went through, how it made me feel, you know, all of these things. And I went through quite a few notebooks. And they were for me originally. I just thought, for some reason I felt I needed to do this, you know, within myself. And then as I got to the end of it, I thought, I need to make this into a manuscript to, you know, so there's a copy of it for my daughter when she's old enough later in life. She has all my wisdom, what I've learned, you know, from all of this, what I've gained, and all the things, all the gifts that I could see from each event. Because once I wrote it down as it happened, like what actually happened, and then my interpretation at that age of what happened, how it made me feel, like once I analyzed the whole thing, right? At the end of each one, I began to see the gift of it, like what I gained from it, you know, in my human experience. And that was the beginning of my awakening, you know. So I guess my second awakening, because my first really happened when she was born, and I had been waiting my whole life for her to be born. Believing that the day I became a mother, I would be loved. I would feel whole. I would feel complete. And that day came and went. And I thought, wait a minute, I missed something. You know, I'm not supposed to be feeling like this. I'm supposed to be feeling at peace. Like nothing's ever going to bother me ever again. You know, my life's a rainbow, so to speak. You know, my life's a rainbow. I'm a mum now. Everything's perfect. Everything's peachy, you know. And that didn't happen. And so that was the beginning of my awakening that, wait, I'm missing something. Something's not working. Something's not right, you know. And because everything I chased up until that point never gave me what I was chasing. If it was freedom, it didn't come with that. If it was love, it didn't come with that. If it was peace, it definitely didn't come with that. You know, whatever I chased to get to, it never came with any of those things. And my daughter was like the one thing that was the deal breaker for me. I was like, what? It doesn't come with that either? You know, it's like, come on. And that's the moment that for me, something just snapped inside of me. And it was like, I can't see that the same anymore. It's not in something out there. It's not in something else. You know, I've got to stop chasing because it's not out there. You know, this realization came in. And then when my husband gave me that comment that you're still looking at your mum like you're 5 years old, that was the second awakening of, okay, I've been trapped there my whole life. And that's created my whole adult years of this anger, this resentment, this unforgiveness, all the stuff I'd been through. I could see it clearly. It opened up that, like a Pandora's box, you know, it just opened it up and then I couldn't unsee it, you know. And so, I had to pause for a second because I completely forgot what this video started about, you know, like what we were originally talking about, and I wanted to thread back into it. So the purpose of this video was that sometimes we're not ready for information to come through because there are other things that need to be resolved first. Other things need to be cleared out of the way first. You know, once I went through that whole, it took about a year to write everything down to create that first book. And then it took like another 6 months to do the publishing stage because I had no idea how to do all of that. But that took a lot of time. I had to really sit with it. I had to really sit with myself. And it was part of my path. That's why I needed to do that. I needed to go through that. But as I did all that forgiveness through that process, all that healing, if you like, And so many things were released. I no longer needed to be angry with about so many things. You know, I didn't need to hold resentment over so many things anymore. Things started to peel away, if you like. You know, you let go of all these layers. I don't need that anymore, and I don't need that anymore. You know, the other things come in. New things can come in. You create the space when you let go of all these things. And so with time, that there was one of us in the room, mind you, that one only came like, around last year, the year before. It was definitely after When Love Leaves, and around the time of You Can Change Your Past, and I Am Dark, which is hiding there. I think it was more towards that last one, because that one's really about spirit being in everything and why spirit is here. And that was the light bulb moment of, oh, it's all spirit. It started in You Can Change Your Past, and there was a little crack, a little opening, you know, but there wasn't the deeper understanding, the bigger picture of it, you know. And it wasn't until I Am Dark that was like, it just cracked wide open. Oh, that's what that means, you know. But we have to trust, you know, that if it's on your path, it's there for a reason. You know, if you are here and you are listening to these videos, there is something here. It can be just in the videos. It's that simple. It can be in one of the courses. It can be in one of the books. You know, there's many things that I've read in the Conversation with God books that also stuck over the years, and, you know, until it got to the moment, oh, I understand that now. Like, now I know it. It's not that, oh, I understand it on paper, it makes sense, but it's a knowing within you because you've been through the experience that it makes sense. There's a knowingness within you. So, my beautiful beings, this is what it is to clear the path. You know, to resolve, to heal, whatever other words people use, to address the past. You know, the pain that you've been through, the fears you've been through, the anger, all of that, to address all of that. It's up to you where you are on your journey. Only you can know that. So, don't worry if at this point there are things here that you listen to and you might feel like there's a knowing, like I did with that line of, there's only one of us in the room, but it doesn't quite click yet. If it stays with you, there's a reason. It's meant for your path. So perhaps write it down somewhere that occasionally you can come back and look at it again and look at it again. You know, keep coming back to it. And know within your heart that when it's the right time, it will be revealed to you because it is part of your path. The things that aren't part of your path, they feel like, oh, you know, that's not real, that's not true, that you can feel it doesn't belong to you. And that's fine. You know, for a long time, for me, lifetime, the past lifetime regressions was BS. You know, that's not real, that's made up stuff, you know. So that was before my first awakening. And even my second, that came much later. After, it was somewhere between Easy Mind, Easy Life and When Love Leaves that I had the very first past lifetime regression. And when you have it, then you know, you just know, you know, that it's real. You have to go through it to know. It's not something that you can, oh yeah, I believe in it, and that's it. No, you actually have to go through it. It's like people that have had past the near-death experiences. You know, they've passed over and then come back. Until you've been through it, there isn't a knowing that, oh yeah, you know, we do transform, we do change and go back to our natural state. And we're sent back, you know. You have that knowing because you've been through that experience, you know. So there are things in your path that may make sense and they resonate and you feel like, yes, this is right. It feels like this is for me. And there'll be things that feel like they're not. And it's because it's not meant for you. You know, my husband, my mother-in-law, they don't believe in angels. But yeah, I work with them all the time, you know. But it's fine. It's not part of their path. And like I said before, you are the same as your beautiful angels. You are the same beautiful energy. So if your focus is just on you and your human experience, that is perfect. It's beautiful, just as it is. Because you are focusing on just you, your experience, and the knowledge and the wisdom that you are gaining that is going straight to spirit. There's no, I wouldn't call them distractions, because for me it's like, there's a connectedness that comes with working with my beautiful team. You know, there's a bigger picture, that there's more happening than just what's happening here. But if your path is to just be engrossed in what's happening here, that's wonderful too. Like I said, my husband doesn't believe in any of that, and yet I get a lot of my wisdom from him, so you know, it doesn't mean anything. You know, it doesn't mean anything. It's just not part of your path. You know, for me, it has enriched my path 1000%, being able to communicate with these beautiful beings and allowing them to assist me in every moment with everything. You know, for me, it's been a richer experience. But, you know, you are exactly where you are meant to be. All right, my beautiful beings. If nothing else from this video, trust that if the information is for you, it will come. It is meant for you. You can't miss it, you know. It will come. It will be through a person. You know, if your spirit guides can't get through to you, they will send you the message through your partner, through your parents, through a neighbor, through someone at work. If it's something that's important, that's for your path, they will find a way for you to get that information. You can't miss it. So you don't need to worry about anything. What is for you is for you. All right, my beautiful beings. We love you dearly. Remember to click like and subscribe so you don't miss any of the messages. And just trust that you are where you're meant to be in your human experience. All right, my beautiful beings. Bye for now.